First, we're going to start in Zimbabwe, where they have a crazy law. So for you to listen to the radio, you have to pay a license. Yeah, if you're a motorist, you drive a car and your car has a radio, you have to pay for the radio. Before you get a license or anything in insurance, whatever that is, you must pay for the radio to the broadcaster. If you don't do that, you're going to go to jail. Then we're going to Senegal. In Senegal, they've rejected all foreign forces from their land. That's it. Enough. It's time for everybody that's come from another country with the military power to leave the continent. Leave the country. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. You appreciate it. This is home, fellas. Okay? You want to know news about the motherland, the continent, you're at the right place. Today we're talking about Zimbabwe. Here's Zimbabwe. Okay, beautiful place, lovely people. But before we start, can I ask you to do this? It costs you nothing, but it's great for the algorithm. Thank you very much. It's appreciated. Now, Zimbabwe, we've spoken about this a few times. Something crazy happening in Zimbabwe right now, fellas. So the Zimbabwean president has signed into law a contentious law. People are very angry about it. This bill requires that all motorists buy a radio license before acquiring vehicle insurance. So before you get an insurance for the road, you have to have a radio license because they presume that everybody that has a car surely has a radio inside. So you listen to the radio, you have to pay for the radio. People are very angry. There's an outcry among Zimbabweans. They're asking them to pay about $92 for this license. $92. Now, trust me, brother. Zimbabwe is not the richest country in Africa. They've been through a lot. It's actually one of the poorest countries in Africa. Zimbabweans are all over the place. A lot of them left Zimbabwe, going to South Africa, looking for better life, getting jobs such as gardeners, security guard, and ended up fighting with South Africans because Zimbabweans that went to South Africa were looking for jobs, but at a very cheap price, the price that South Africans will not take, therefore frustrating the locals. When you come to somebody's country and you're ready to take the same job as him and you want to be paid less than him, it has to be a problem. Now, charging the very same people $92 where there are no jobs, no means of income, it's very difficult. The introduction of the measure is part of a plan to widen revenue sources for the state broadcaster, but critics say license fee is too high, especially given the difficult economic situation. So they want to raise money for the broadcaster. Therefore, everybody that drives a car in Zimbabwe has to pay for this license. Well, you have about 1.2 registered cars in Zimbabwe, but only 800,000 pay insurance according to local media. So people don't pay insurance. Now they want them to pay for the broadcast fee, which is $100 approximately. So that's what it is, fellas. I mean, it's very similar to what's happening in Kenya. In Kenya a while back, many Kenyans came down the street to fight the government. Why? Because the government came up with a law putting extra tax on bread. Imagine having to pay tax on bread. You have bread price, and tax on the bread. Tax on period pad. I mean, your child need a period pad, or your woman. You have to pay the period pad and pay tax on it, and also have nothing for the next 5 days. Forget about that. You have tax on cancer treatment. You're suffering from cancer, then you have to put a tax on top of it. You pay the medication and you pay tax. Why? Because government need money. Where did the money go from governments that the government had received prior? Because governments had money for sure. Well, the money was in some cases misused, given to things that are not necessary or not beneficial to the people at all. But you have to pay an extra tax on your cancer disease to the government. People were very angry in Kenya.
We can't even afford diapers for the kids anymore. There are no vaccines in the hospitals for the children.
And Kenyans are not puppies. Kenyans know how to revindicate. They go down the street. They will scream. They will shout. They will be present. They will fight. And unfortunately, a lot of Kenyans were unalive, taken bluntly. I don't know if you've seen the documentary with BBC. You must check it. Check the Kenyan documentary with the tax situation with BBC. You're going to major eye-opener. Okay, and people were very angry. Some people say Ruto should leave office.
Here to address you. You must go. Ruto must go. We don't fear you guys. You hypocrites. We don't fear.
But Ruto came up and said, no. We know what we need to change. He fired everybody except himself. So why are you asking us to pay extra tax? Because you get money, you have money. The reason why you don't have money right now is because you mismanage the money that you have. Well, this is not limited to Kenya. This is something that happens in most African countries. You know, governments misuse money. They take some of the money, instead of building the road, they will use it for personal use. They will build villas and for the second, third wife, fourth wife. Crazy stuff that happens in Africa. And nobody can ask them questions because they're part of the government. They say it's our power. It's our power. Oh, it is their power. You have nothing to say. If you open your mouth, they throw you in jail if you like it. If they don't beat you up to be unalive. That's crazy. That's Africa for you. If you happen to experience an African country where people can express themselves, you are very lucky. As much as we blame Europe, saying Europe is bad and this and colonialism, we are the most dangerous beings to ourselves. I'm being honest with you. You know, things you can say in Europe, saying, no to racism. Yeah, we don't want this politician. We don't want the prime minister. You can't probably say it in your country. You cannot. You cannot. So Zimbabwe is going through the most. The thing is, Zimbabwe went south when the Zimbabweans decided to chase white people. They said, leave the land to the blacks. A lot of black people took the land. Some were, unfortunately, misused the land. You know, running a business is something else. It's different than acquiring a business. If you did not build the business, it's very difficult to know how to maintain the business you never built. So many people took the land from the whites, okay, saying it's our land. They took the land. White people used to produce potato, tomatoes, bananas and stuff. All of a sudden, black people took the land. Some of them misused it. They got some of the money. Instead of reinvesting the money into the business, they spent the money for themselves. Surely, when you never really suffered for it, you don't feel the pain of spending it. End of the day, the country was also hit with sanctions. They couldn't produce anymore. They started running away from their own lands, going to South Africa, following the very same white people they had chased. So Zimbabwe has gone through a lot of things. But in the meantime, just a few weeks ago, we were talking about it here, Zimbabwe was begging white people to come back, offering them money for damage for the lands they had improved. They said, the land you've improved, we're going to pay you for that. They didn't want to admit that we are paying you for the land we took from you. They're saying for every improvement you had made on the land, we are paying you money back to come back in the country. Now the question is, if you have enough money to pay white people to come back in the country, don't you have enough money to sponsor this broadcaster? Do the people of Zimbabwe who are still struggling economically have to pay $100 for a radio license? What if you don't even listen to that radio? Question mark. What do you think are the alternatives for Zimbabwe to do good? Now we're going to Senegal. Yes, Senegal, fellas. Beautiful place, lovely people, great food, my brother. Spiced foods, great food. Oh God, you're gonna bite your tongue. Just talking about it, I'm salivating. Okay, now in Senegal, they have expelled all foreign troops. Okay, they're being very clear. The Prime Minister said, you have a time frame. I'm giving you 4 months. Everybody must leave. Congratulations, what? Piga Makofi. Yeah, Piga Makofi, some more. Piga Makofi means clap your hand. That's Swahili for you. Here are the countries where you speak Swahili. So that's a big chunk of Africa. Huh? Maybe you need to start learning Swahili as well, so we can start communicating in Swahili. French troops remain the only foreign military presence in Senegal, operating under 2012 Defense Partnership Agreement. So Senegal has an agreement with France that was renewed in 2012. But how did they get there? French came in the 18th century, okay, in Senegal. They stationed there, they beat people up, they started colonialism. Even after colonialism in 1960, when they signed a piece of paper saying, listen, you are getting freedom, but in one condition, we are keeping our soldiers in your land. Our military should be in your land. Number two, you're going to use our currency, or not our currency. We're going to print a currency for you to use, and that currency will be bound to our money. So whatever gain you make, we make too. Whenever you make loss, we make too. So we are bound by you, by your riches, your wealth, your gold, your diamonds, your oil. That was the agreement. So this brand new government is coming with something very, very new. After Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso asked the French to leave, Senegal followed through, saying, listen, We're not going to chase you in a brutal way, in a way Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso ask you to leave. We are giving you a time frame. Please take your stuff and leave. And a few days ago, the French military actually handed over a military site to Senegal.
Senegal, for a year now that we've been in power, we have taken actions asserting our sovereignty. As proof of this, I point to the military presence. We said we cannot allow foreign military bases in Senegal. And for every country that had a military base in Senegal, we notified them to say that we are requesting the withdrawal of all their troops from Senegal.
So Senegal now has claimed the sovereignty. They're asking people from Europe to leave. Thank you very much. We are grown people. We can handle our own situation, our own troubles. We can take care of it. Thank you. We appreciate you. That's what it is. Is a good move or not? Well, this president has been criticized quite a lot by staunch Pan-Africanists. They're saying he's not strong enough. He should have reacted like Traore, Chani, and Goïta by asking everybody who's a foreign force to leave immediately. Now, the question is this one. Do you always finish your problems by punching back? Or are there any softer ways of resolving the very same situation, amounting to the same result? Should you always tell people to leave my country? We don't want you anymore. Or you can say, listen, I'm giving you a time frame, 9 months. Okay, I see that we are strong enough. We can handle our own business. Thank you for the service you've provided for us. Is there any compensation you want from us? Please leave. Does that make you weak? Well, it looks like that's the direction these people are taking. Or do you think it's not? Let me know how you feel about this. It's always a great pleasure. Zimbabwe coming up with a brand new tax on motorists. If you listen to the radio, you're going to pay for the radio license. Before you renew your vehicle's insurance, you have to obtain a license from the Zimbabwe National Board Authority. Is this fair or just a manipulation to get money from the people who are already suffering? Provided the fact that the Zimbabwean government was offering billions in dollars for white people to come back and work the land.
Okay, my people. Somebody sent me a video that I found very funny, actually. It's a video of the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa, talking about Donald Trump before he went to the US and when he got to the US. I think it's a very interesting video. Let's watch this.
When I meet him, I will tell him. I will say, you, Donald Trump, you are even worse because your forebears came to America. They found the native, the indigenous Americans. They wiped them out. They killed nearly all of them.
Shit. Kia perish. Bruh, I got 274. Ke bereka bjang a go le so.
So that was before and after, before meeting Trump and after meeting Trump. It's just very, very interesting. All right, so Julius Malema has made a response to the occasion, the whole saga in the US with Mr. Ramaphosa and Donald Trump. Let's hear what Julius Malema had to say.
I will never be intimidated by America. I will never be intimidated by Donald Trump. They were speaking about me in that meeting at White House. If they were not gossiping about me, they should have called me into that meeting. I would have answered everything that Donald Trump wanted from us. Banchaba ba seba ka nna batho ba baholo ka dikhoneng ba tia transport ba ya kwa America ba yo bua ka nna slege. If they are not scared of me, call me into that meeting. That nonsense that Trump did in America, he will never do that nonsense in my presence because I will confront him here and there with the facts.
Do you think he would?
Ramaphosa could not present the facts in front of Donald Trump. You've got a coward president. He left here. Ariana, he won't be bullied. When he arrived there, he was shaking.
Let me pause there. He said you have a bully president. A bully as a president. Now, this is one thing that I really appreciate about South Africa's democracy. Would you say that about your president? The president is a bully, he said coward. A coward president. He said you have a coward president. Would you call your president coward and still survive? Let's go.
Atatazela, Achaba Donald Trump, another president scared of another president. Donald Trump said to him, when you say farmers, you mean white people. He kept quiet. farmers do not mean white people. They are black farmers. They are white farmers. Ramaphosa is a farmer himself. He should have said to Donald Trump, no, farmers are not white. I'm a farmer myself. I am not white. Why didn't he present that simple fact before Donald Trump? Why didn't he say there are so many people killed in South Africa and majority of them are blacks? There is no white genocide in South Africa. Bammonchatsila with crosses. He opens his eyes in shock. I know South Africa with my eyes closed. He's unable to tell Donald Trump that is not a picture.
Okay. Let me stop there. That is not a picture of South Africa, he's saying. So he's mentioning when Trump showed Cyril Ramaphosa, look at these pictures, look at this video. It was a video of multiple crosses. They spoke about 1,000 different crosses. And Trump said all these crosses represent a life, like a white farmer. And people went to pay respect to all these bodies. And he says, I know South Africa with my eyes closed. There's no such thing as a genocide happening. He should have told Trump that is not the reality. But he sat there and doing nothing, not reacting and looking bad. Because as much as Mr. Ramaphosa, I believe, is an African that surely would wait for you to finish your sentence in that specific area. But that's what most Africans will do. They will let you finish your sentence first. They won't stop you in between. They won't overspeak to you or however you say it. Trump did it all the time. And sometimes that's perceived as you don't know what to say. When you're looking like this, people think you don't know what to say. Maybe you have a lot of things to say. But within the African mentality, you want to allow your person to finish speaking because you respect them before you speak. He said he would have never sat there looking. He would have spoke out and loud.
Of South Africa, this picture does not belong to us. We don't have mass graves of white people in South Africa. Comrades, Donald Trump says to him, hey Ramaphosa, Donald Trump says to him, hey Ramaphosa, why are you not arresting this Julius Malema? Why is this Julius Malema not in jail? He can't respond with a simple fact that this song killed the Boer, killed. He failed to defend the Constitutional Court. By failing to defend the Constitutional Court, it means he failed to protect the Constitution. And when you fail to protect the Constitution as a president of the country, you have failed in your primary duty of defending the sovereignty of South Africa. Ramaphosa, it's a failure. But you must understand one thing. When Trump says, why is this man not in jail? Why is this man not arrested? He simply means, why is this man not dead? Why are you not killing this man who wants to kill for white people? In that White House, my ticket was taken out. They called for my life with an attempt to silence me. They will never kill me again because where I am dead. Because black people are dead. Black people have got no dignity. Black people have got no human rights. Black people cannot determine their own destination. They are waiting on the white supremacists to tell them which direction to take.
Do you think Mr. Malema is right there, speaking about black people have no life, they have no dignity, they have no nothing, they're waiting for the white supremacy to make the decision? Do you think he's telling the truth, or do you think he's trying to appeal to the heart of the black people as a politician? Do you think it makes sense what he's saying? Like, who's stopping black people from developing? Who's preventing black people from running things appropriately? Who's preventing black people from building roads, hospitals? Oh, let's not talk about building. Who's preventing black people from maintaining what exists and not putting money to the side? I'm not to say that other communities don't do it, but if you look at the scale in which we see the discrepancy, then we need to ask, how is this? Okay, they have corruption as well, but how is it functional on that side and not as functional on this side? Let's go.
What is this life we are living of being cowards? I'm not going to be silenced by threat of violence. I'm not going to be silenced by threat of death. When you say don't jail him, Ramaphosa should have said, in South Africa, we don't jail people like that. There are courts in South Africa, and the courts have said there is nothing wrong with this song. This is not my song. I did not compose this song. I found this song. The struggle heroes composed this song. All I'm doing is to defend the legacy of our struggle. This is a heritage of our struggle. This is the song that was sung by Peter Mokaba in the presence of Chris Hani, in the presence of Winnie Mandela. And therefore, I will never stop singing a song that Winnie Mandela sang before she died. That will be a betrayal to the struggle of our people. Comrades, when they say stop singing, kill the poor, kill the farmer, they are going to say to you, stop demanding the land. Because you are offending white people. Don't talk about the land.
Do you think the song Kill the Boer has its place? Number one, because of the historical value to it. Number two, do you think it sounds right? Kill the Boer, kill the farmer. Number three, kill the black man. Does it sound right? Then if it doesn't sound right, why would you sing Kill the Boer? Just a question. You answer. Let's go.
When you stop the land, they say black people must go back to Bantu education. There must be African schools. When you say no, they say no, that is not allowed. Today, a tender is given in White House without advertisement, where Rupert stands up and says, why is Elon Musk Starlink not given an opportunity in South Africa? Elon Musk's business cannot come to South Africa if it's not compliant with 30% BEE. What he did, Ramaphosa, after they asked him that, the following day, they issue out that they want to relax the BEE deals so that this Starlink can come into South Africa. There is no such a law in South Africa. That Starlink will not come into South Africa if it's not compliant with the BEE. We are not saying 30% must go to one individual.
You know the drill. It's very simple. South Africa has a law. 30% of equity of your company has to go to black people in South Africa before you operate. You have a major company, Amazon, Microsoft, whatever it is, 30% to the South African people. You're not giving out the 30%. They are buying it. They need some land of sort of ownership to your company. Why? It's the rule, number one. Number two, black people have gone through a lot of hardships in their own country. So they need to catch up with history. Now, what he's saying is something crucial that happened in the White House, where Mr. Johan Rupert, who's a multi-billionaire, respected by Trump, he seized this opportunity to say, why can't Elon Musk Starlink come into South Africa so it can open up the market, so he can bring us technology, so he can help us with security? So whilst South African delegation went to the United States to clarify what's happening in South Africa, there's no genocide, an opportunity was seized to immediately accept without signing, without reviewing, saying, why can't he just come and do? Mr. Malema said the next day, they relaxed the BEE, which is the body that requires actually you as a company, external company, to pay 30% or to give 30% equity of your company to the locals. He said no tender was given, so no agreement was made. So automatically, under pressure, you accept to open a market, you refuse to open in the past. Does that make sense or not? Let's go.
That 30% must go to black people, as many as possible, because we want to benefit from our own economy. Comrades, we must never be dictated to by business. I long told you, South Africa, that we are captured by Ruperts, that our country is run by Ruperts. How can a minister of international relations sit in a meeting, but oh, Nata Malema, Marano is a good boy. O beta ke lekgowa ko leetle nna o ka se mpete lekgowa ya ke re wena. What is your problem? The whole Minister of International Relations goes and sit in a meeting that deals with international issues outside the country and never uttered a word. But businessmen, the golf players are speaking, but you, the politician who's supposed to speak on those matters, you are quiet. Why do you still want to earn a salary after being quiet? Why can't we give this salary to those white people? Because they are the ones who are speaking there. All white people who were in that house from South Africa, all of them spoke. All of them, including John Steenhuisen. What gave them the ticket to speak on behalf of our country? It was their color. Only the color of their skin is the one that gave them permission to speak at the White House. Lamula was there. Kumbuzo was even worse.
So the question is, let's say he's right. They spoke because of the color. What prevented the black politicians, regular entity of the government, to express themselves? Was there inferiority complex, perhaps? Fear, not knowing how to manage the situation right now? What is this? Did they stop them from speaking? Let's continue.
So why should we allow that? Comrades, this country will never be free as long as Ward 16 does not have clean water.
Let me know how you feel about this, fellas. It's always a great pleasure. First, we're going to go to Senegal, where people are going to jail like never before. For what reason? You're going to find out just now. Then we're going to go to Burkina Faso, one of your favorites. President Ibrahim Traoré went to hospital to visit people, and he did something absolutely insane. You better find out about this. One of the main reasons why Africa doesn't move forward is because people are not called into accountability for things they do. Yeah, one of the reasons why people don't move forward, Africa's not growing. It's because the people that steal in governments, embezzle money, take public funds for themselves, marry 4, 5, 6, 7 wives without being called into accountability. One of the main reasons why Africa is mayhem and people are trying to run away to go Europe or America is because nobody's calling people into accountability. And in some countries, matter of fact is, once you become chief or president or whatever you want to call it, they want to treat you like you're the king. Instead of treating you like a democratically elected president, people will praise you, bow to you, instead of asking you for accountability on how you use the money that belongs to the public for your personal purpose. That is crazy. And why do people do this? People do this so they can be on your good side. People will praise you even if you do negative things, so they can perhaps profit from the crumbles that fall off your table. That is the sad reality of many African nations. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. You are appreciated. My name is Mwekassa. White people influence push them to call me Zack. That's what it is. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. We want you here. We like you here. You want to know about the continent? You're at the right place. You want to know about Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. Brother, you want to be here. Okay, let's go to this. Senegal. Here's a map. Beautiful place, lovely people. One of the most stable democracy in Africa. It's amazing. They have a great culture of food. Senegal has some of the most delicious food you can possibly think about. You heard of jollof rice? Yes, the fights between Nigerians and Ghanaians arguing who's got the best jollof rice. Forget about them. They don't own jollof. Jollof rice initially came from Senegal. They don't even call it jollof in Senegal. It's amazing. They can make it with fish. They can make it with chicken. They can make it with meat. It's insane. You bite your tongue. Senegal has a beautiful culture of wrestling as well. See these guys? Big, massive guys. They make a lot of money. About $400,000 for the elite for fighting traditional wrestling. Look at the stadium. Major event. It's amazing that you see that they were able to transform a traditional activity into a commercial thing for the people. Let's get back to track. Senegal Anti-Corruption Special Court on Monday indicted Amadou Mansour Faye, a former minister of community development and brother-in-law of ex-president Macky Sall, of a charge of embezzling more than $4.6 million in public funds. Congratulations, what? Piga makofi. Yes, you gotta piga makofi. Surely we're gonna get into the depth of this, but for first, you need to piga makofi because things like this don't happen very much. Now, this guy is not the first guy. He's official number 5 from a previous administration to be charged by the High Court of Justice, a special justice body tasked with trying former government official for crimes committed in office. The court denied him bail and ordered his detention, according to his lawyer Amadou Sall. Now, why is this important? It is important because it is sending a very clear message. My brother, Africans leaders don't give a continental about the people. Why? Because they can steal. Okay? When you are related to the president, or if you are in a good liking of the president, if he chooses you to be part of his government, y'all can steal. Y'all can take money from taxpayers and spend it on your cars. You know, you can build 2-3 villas for your second, third, fourth wife. Nobody cares about that. They won't ask you a question because they're in power. In most African countries, majority of African countries, the president is king. I mean, he's the boss. Who's gonna put? There's nothing you can do against the president. He can remove everybody, anybody. And it is good to see this brand new government coming into power and taking people into accountability. Now, you know what happens in most cases? In some countries like the DRC, I believe, where the previous president stole so much money and he had an agreement with the brand new president saying, dudes, if I let you become president, don't pursue me for the negative things I did in the past. We forget about that. Is that okay? So all the crimes that I've done, violence I've done on people, all the money I've stolen, billions of dollars, all the lithium, gold, diamonds, mines that I've sold to external entities where I'm getting money, you're not going to pursue me for that, okay? Before I give you power. Apparently, the previous president, this guy, actually earns a percentage of every passport that is bought by the citizens. Hear me out. So he's got a company to go make passports, to print passports. Now, from that company, he makes a percentage of every passport that is sold to the citizen every single day. And for the new president to get into power, he had to agree not to budge on that or not to pursue him for anything he did in the past. Well, this is not the case in Senegal. The new government, as soon as they got into power, they double-checked and audited every little thing that was done by the previous government. So by the time they leave government or leave office, they know where they took it from to where they're going. Now, they are going behind every single politician that profited from the system. Last week, the same court detained 2 other former ministers. Mustafa Diop, who served as an industrial development minister, is accused of embezzling about $4 million from Senegal COVID-19 relief fund. Crazy! The COVID relief fund. People made so much money through COVID. You have no idea. The scam was major in many African nations. I mean, the more COVID cases you got, the more money people in government got. It's crazy. Even doctors got paid to incentivize. Just say it's COVID. So every time people say somebody was unalive and it was COVID, it got paid about $900 in Cameroon, in Gabon. Crazy. So you could be going to hospital with headache, you pass away, and they say, oh, he was unalive by COVID. He get $900. It was crazy. Now, this guy profited about $4 million through embezzlement and crazy fund, and is being brought to accountability. The charges stem from a preliminary inquiry that revealed widespread misuse of state funds under the previous government. The detention underscored the new government's commitment to rooting out corruption at the highest level, even as critics raise concern about political motivations. Absolutely. Is this politically motivated? It's a very possible thing. Okay, like saying you did us wrong, it's time to make you pay. Now, will it be politically motivated if you didn't steal? Oh, if you didn't steal, they can't put you in jail, right? Justice will prevail because you didn't steal. Now, if you stole and you find somebody who's politically motivated to bring you to the ground, then you effed. What I'm saying is this: pursuing people for political reasons is absolutely wrong. If this is the case, well, I'm sorry for them. But if you stole, shouldn't you be paying for the negative things you did? A lot of politicians would get other people unalive for stupid things like, you liked my girl, or you liked the girl that I liked, but she didn't like me, she liked you, so I'm going to unalive you. It's crazy stuff. Should they pay for that or not? They have to pay. Political people that use the system to enrich themselves to the mercy of other people, of the poor people, of the orphans. People took money from orphans, money from widows, money sponsored by NGOs to change the lives of people. They use it for themselves. Should it be brought to accountability or not? Absolutely. I think Ibrahim Traoré has showed to the world that Africa doesn't need so much help. Africa can do things by itself. Ibrahim Traoré, one of the reasons why people like him very much is because, number one, he refused his salary as a president. He said, pay me as a captain. I don't need your money. It's fine. I'll survive with my captain money. That's good. I'm not trying to impress no second, third, fourth. And but matter of fact, I don't have a big stomach. I have a flat stomach. I've got six-pack, stomach in, chest out. I'm not like this ugly president with big stomach that needs to spray money for them to attract any woman. I mean, this man is elegant. Even without him being president, certainly women will be falling on his feet. Now, he said, I don't want money as a president. He brought people together. He said, let's put money together so we can sponsor our own things. We don't need IMF. We don't need a World Bank to give us money so we can build our hospitals, our roads. That's what most African countries do. They will ask for debt from other countries, from China, like Kenya has done so much debt from China, Angola. And now they have to pay the debt back. That's when Kenya was obliged to force the people of Kenya to pay an extra fund, extra tax on bread, tax on cancer treatment, tax on period pad, so they can have enough money to reimburse. How? Because they misused some of the money that was given to them by China. Now, Burkina Faso refuses that. They don't want to use anybody's money. They say, okay, people, from your salary, can you take a percentage, put it in a basket? This is a mutual basket. From this basket, we'll get money to build hospitals. From the money we all put in a basket, we'll have enough to build roads, to build school and infrastructure. Guess what they've done? Well, Ibrahim Traore has done number one thing. Very interesting. He has gifted material. He has gifted cars, trucks, motorbikes, and mine detection equipment to VDP. Congratulations, Pika Makofi. Yeah, baby, Pika Makofi. What does that mean? Cars, trucks, armed vehicles, motorbikes, and mine detection material is given to the VDPs.
Indeed, this morning we just handed over the equipment. A very large consignment of all kinds of equipment. Support equipment, mobility equipment for combatants, was provided for the benefit of volunteers defending the homeland. This equipment was acquired through the Patriotic Support Fund, which represents a contribution from the entire Burkinabe population to ensure good working conditions for combatants, and also to enable victories to be achieved for a certain outcome, the victory of the Burkinabe people against the rebel forces.
Who are the VDPs? The VDPs are basically natural human beings, civilians that were living in their neighborhood, their regions when terrorism started. So the terrorists will come into your city and unalive people, take women by force and stuff like that. And you get hurt, right? When you get hurt, first time, second time, third time, you have enough. You say, you know what? I'm not a soldier, but I can't wait for the military anymore to come and defend me. How about, Mr. President, you assign some people to train me so I can be strong enough to defend my family when these terrorists come again? That's exactly what happened. Now, these people are very different from Congolese. See, these DRC people, they just cry. They say, oh, they are attacked. The reason why they are attacked is because their neighbor is sponsored by America. America's giving them weapons. They're scared to death. Because, you know what they say? They say, oh, the war is for the military. The army must go fight the war. These are 100 million people. 100 million people accusing Rwanda that have got like less than 8 million people of harassing them. Rwanda has less than 500,000 soldiers. These are 100 million men scared of less than 100,000 soldiers. Crazy stuff. Now, if you're scared of these people, if you believe they are attacking, why don't you train? Why don't you get your men in the street? But, well, they say they don't want to go to war. But look at them. This is them in the concert. You see, this is a stadium with 120,000 people. That's 120,000 men dancing, but they're scared to go fight. Anyway, that's not the case in Burkina Faso. In Burkina Faso, they say we're not going to wait. If you ask these Congolese men, why don't you fight? They say, no, the army is already fighting. Anyway, now, back to Burkina Faso. In Burkina Faso, but they're nice people. They like to dance. If you need somebody to entertain you dancing, you can call them. If you need entertainment or people are out to dress up, colors, green, you see, they like to dress up and stuff. They're just happy people. They don't like to unalive people. Anyway, let's go back to Burkina Faso. In Burkina Faso, VDPs are people that are trained to defend the nation. These are just civilians. Now, is this dangerous? Yes, it is dangerous. Why? Because a civilian who becomes trained in weapons doesn't necessarily have the mental training of a soldier or maybe the discipline. It's a possibility. Could a civilian do crime? It's a possibility. Now, can army people do crime? Oh, of course they can do crimes. So it comes down to the bottom of who you truly are inside. Number two, Ibrahim Traore went to hospitals to visit people. These are soldiers that were hurt in war. He goes there by himself. He doesn't send a representative, go watch. No, he goes by himself to an hospital that his government is updated financially. So he's promising them, we're going to make sure you have everything here.
There's a project underway with the hospital. It had been thought about by people, but I think we brought the project here so that you could add whatever you wanted. And for it to be a futuristic hospital,
The equipment that you need is going to come here. Just remember that the guy went to Russia to see the Russian president, and all he was talking about is acquiring knowledge, acquiring intelligence. He's a student of the game. He wants Russians institute in Burkina Faso so they can learn, get the military equipment, get the technology so they can be self-sufficient. Congratulations or not. Let me know how you feel about this. Again, Senegal bringing people to accountability for stealing, for looting the government. Do you think this is reasonable, or do you think this is politically motivated, just trying to pay the people of previous government the negative they did? Again, if they didn't do anything wrong, should they be afraid? Burkina Faso, again, Ibrahim Traoré, it's it, delivering cars, motorbikes and armed vehicles and man detection instruments to the people so they can continue resisting freeing their country. And he goes again to visit people at the hospital to show them sympathy and presence. Let me know how you feel about this. It was a great pleasure. How do you think Africa can do better? Fellas, General Langley, this man right here, the critique of Ibrahim Traoré, is in Kenya, and a lot of Kenyans are not happy at all. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. You new here? My name is Zack. You're welcome. We want you here. We want you to stay. We want you to come back tomorrow. There's no doubt about that. But before we get to that, please click on the button, subscribe so we can see each other every single day. Beautiful. We are in Africa. We talk mostly about Africa. Everything about the motherland, you are at the right place. Brother, we're here in Kenya. General Langley. Yes, General Langley. You certainly heard about him. He traveled to Kenya to go and discuss with people. And many Kenyans are not happy at all. Why did he go to Kenya? Langley attended the African Chief Defense Conference 2025 in Nairobi, hosted by Kenya, with military leaders from 42 African nations. So Langley went to attend this meeting of African Chief of Defense Forces. So the top generals and representatives of armies from 42 different countries met in Kenya. And Langley was there. Why was Langley there? Is he African? We're going to find out just now. What did Langley say? Langley praised the Kenya professionalism and its role as a regional security exporter, particularly in countering Al-Shabaab through the African Union transition. Very interesting. So Langley said good things about Kenya. Like, congratulations Kenya for exporting good things and fighting terrorism. Well, Kenya and America have a deal when it comes to counter-terrorism. Did you know about that? Okay, we're going to talk about that just now. Let's continue. Who is General Langley? General Michael Langley is the first black 4-star general in the U.S. Marine Corps and commander of the U.S. Africa Command, Africom, since August 2022. He has made several high-profile visits to Kenya to strengthen U.S.-Kenya military and security cooperation. So who is he? He is the commander of Africom. I'm sure you heard of Africom, right? Africom. What does that sound to you like? Africom, like Africa. You know, Africa. Well, Africom is nothing to do with Africa.com. It's U.S. Africa Command. That's the meaning of it, not Africacom. I know when you hear Africom, you think it's some Africans running security stuff. No, it's not. It's U.S. African Command. So they could just call it, but I don't know why they removed the U.S. part. Why they don't say U.S. Africom? They don't say that because does it sound good? It doesn't sound good at all. No. U.S. Africom. It doesn't sound good. Like, why do you have U.S. Africom in Botswana? Why do you have you know what I mean? But Africom sound like you have It's like the way they do, you know, some Europeans will open a company in Africa and call it Tabo's Clemmer Center. Tabo's Medical Center. You think it's Tabo or Makumbo's, but it's not. If you check the owner well, it's nothing to do with Makumbos and Tabos and Tabisos and Malulas. Absolutely not. It's a very good strategy. So Africom, it's actually US Africa Command. Let's continue. Now, if you ask yourself a question to find out, like you have a general for African Command by the United States of America, but it's not white, he's black. Why not choose a white man? I mean, like, a black man would feel to you like he just wants some good things for you. I mean, after all, you're all black, so I wouldn't want bad things for you. Is it strategic, or do you think it's just by mistake that Mr. Langley happened to be black and the chief of US Africom? Let's continue. Now, Mr. Langley also clarified that Africom is not seeking a permanent base in Kenya, only expanding its runway at Manda Bay for enhanced capability. Hold on to that. It's not seeking for permanent base in Kenya, meaning they have a base, right? Good, we together. Let's continue.
So yes, the USA or Africom have a common military base with Kenya. What's the goal of it? The goal is to strengthen counter-terrorism effort. Manda Bay is located in Lamu County near Somalia, hosts a US-Kenyan military base critical for operations against Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda affiliated group. Langley visits it from time to time, and in 2025, in May especially, he went to visit. What's the goal of it? The goal of this is just simply to enhance joint counter-terrorism operation, including training Kenyan forces and improving intelligence serving with Kenyans. Now, this is what Mr. Langley had to say. They asked him a few questions. I mean, he went to Kenya and was hosted by some journalists, and he was asked some questions about Ibrahim Traore, right? You remember Langley from Ibrahim Traore. This is what he said about Ibrahim Traore in the beginning?
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traore and Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime. There's a number of examples across.
You see that? Okay, now let me get you up to date. This is what he said in Kenya a couple of days ago. Watch.
Rule rather than for public welfare. These remarks sparked widespread, condemnation across the continent. What did you mean by that statement?
Let me speak to Burkina Faso's sovereignty. They maintain their sovereignty. They make their decisions how they use their resources. They make their decisions who their resources go to for military support.
Okay, let me just remind you here that he said that Burkina Faso was misusing the resources. The gold is used for their own purpose, talking about the leadership of Burkina Faso, and the people are not profiting from it. In other words, people of Burkina Faso are not seeing anything at all. So there's no road being built, there's no hospitals, there's no schools being built, nothing at least from the gold. But it looks like we're seeing road being built and hospitals, and it's a bit controversial. And Ibrahim Traore said, if it's gold being used, is it your gold?
By claiming that Burkina Faso's mineral resources as well as certain revenues from cooperation with the People's Republic of China might not be beneficial to the population and might rather serve to protect the regime in power, General Langley is taking a stand, deliberately ignoring this new sovereignty momentum of Burkina Faso. Such unsubstantial, unfounded, and eminently political comments are all the more worrying because they were made within a parliamentary body as prestigious as the US Senate by a senior military official.
It's our goals, right? Now he's justifying that. They may use what they want to use the way they want to use. Let's continue.
That's their sovereign right. But my cautionary tale was just from a military perspective. That was a Senate Armed Services Committee asking me a direct question.
Okay, it was just from a military perspective, nothing to do with anything else. But then why make a comment about a person? Yeah, then it sounds like you are attacking his reputation. Let's continue.
Burkina Faso, a lot of great things going on to progress them forward, okay? But then when you look at the military part of it, knowing that that's the epicenter of global terrorism, it was my time to illuminate that this is probably their weakest point, and there needs to be sufficient resources going towards for the whole fight of terrorism in that country.
Burkina Faso, the epicenter of terrorism. Interesting.
Period. They make their decisions, though. That's their sovereignty, their sovereign right to make their decisions, what is appropriate, what's not. But I wanted to illuminate that it's going in the wrong direction now. ISIS is getting stronger. JNIM is getting stronger. Al-Qaeda in the lands of the Maghreb is getting stronger in that country.
Okay, so Mr. Langley elaborates saying that he was talking on a military perspective, like ISIS is getting stronger, JNIM is getting stronger, all these terrorist groups are getting stronger. Burkina Faso is the epicenter of terrorism right now. And on the military perspective, they are not very strong. And what should we do then? Well, then some people will say, then why would make a comment about the gold? I mean, if it's about war, then why are you talking about the gold? Now, some people make some comment about this. Let's read some of the comments that was made. The comments are very harsh, but we're going to read them, okay? Number one says, Nabila, Why doesn't he worry about black boys in America being murdered by the police? ISIS and all terrorist groups are funded by US. Oh, he should never speak of Africa and Africans. He's not one of and has no good intentions. Okay, that's very harsh to say. The other person says he's talking nonsense. Burkina Faso is a victim of terrorist activity, not a perpetrator of it. It started with NATO bombing of Libya in 2011, and after the country was overrun by terrorist group, which then spread throughout Sahel and West Africa. That's obviously, this sir is mentioning what's happened with Gaddafi. Before, there was no terrorists, at least not the way it is today, until they wanted to overthrow Gaddafi. After overthrowing Gaddafi, which was done by bringing in people that became later on what you call terrorists, they came down to the south, leaving Libya as a failed country, and they continue doing terrorism in other places. In other words, France and Obama administration brought in some guys that look like Gaddafi people to overthrow Gaddafi. Those are the people that became the terrorists that you're fighting today. So he's saying, this gentleman is saying at least, that you shouldn't be speaking about this. Next comment. This person, high class, say you're a liar. I mean, this is just you're a liar. You can see this is the sentiment of mostly Kenyans and in broad spectrum Africans. The other person says, why are you concerned about African countries? The first person said, why isn't he concerned about black boys in America being murdered by the police? Is this a reality? This is a reality, surely. Okay, that's also something that's in the attention. We see it every day on TV, right? It's a reality. This other guy named Prophilic Talking, he said, why is a local Kenyan TV station rolling out the red carpet to General Michael Langley, a man whose legacy screams enemy of African sovereignty? Have we sunk so deep into Western puppetry that we now glorify our own oppressors on national platforms? So this man feels like General Langley was given very soft questions, and he was able to shine after all he said about Ibrahim Traore and all the stuff that they're doing. As much as it sounds like a junta, but is the junta doing good things for the people? Is the junta building schools for the people? Is the junta building hospitals, financing orphans and widows whom are losing their lives at front fighting terrorism? Is the junta bringing in intelligence? Well, there's another question here. It's not really about that. It feels like the junta has turned to Russia. That's the problem. So it's not really about the junta, it's about what's the junta doing. Hasn't America supported anybody that wasn't necessarily democratically elected? It has happened in the past. Why isn't this one lacked very much? Well, because this one is very open to China and Russia. Perhaps. Is that a reason? Now, let's find out. What is Africom? Okay, what's the goal of Africom in Africa? Aren't Africans able to defend themselves? Let's find out. Who created Africom? The US African Command was officially established in February 6, 2007, when President George W. Bush announced its creation. It became fully operational as a unified combatant command in October 2008, assuming responsibilities for the US military operation and relation across Africa. Are they really in Africa for Africans, or to fight terrorism? Let's ask the computer and find out. What does the computer say? Well, the computer say that the creation of Africom coincided with increasing Chinese and Russia influence in Africa. Wow. Chinese and Russia influence in Africa, particularly in resources-rich region. The US sought to counter this by deepening military and diplomatic ties with African nations. Okay, so the way of countering Chinese and Russians is deepen a relationship with Africans. In order for them, let's continue reading what the computer says. Securing access to strategic resources like oil and mineral, and maintaining influence in key regions like Sahel and East Africa. So it's not necessarily, fellas, about let's fight terrorism. Okay, as much as that could be one of the reasons, multiple reasons, it's influence. Okay, influence, power, presence, control. Okay, we need to, I don't know why Africans need to be controlled. Why do we need to be controlled? Either by United States of America, Russia, or China. Can't Africans bring their capabilities together and just deal with these people from the distance? I mean, sovereignty is sovereignty. We cannot come to America, in Mexico, whether Georgia next to Russia, trying to do military stuff. And no, we don't do that. I understand they are perhaps advanced compared to us, but we don't need babysitters. We don't need that, because history has shown us that colonizers came from those places and it wasn't for our good. Are they really in Africa for just terrorism? Listen to what Langley said to the senator.
Where, we need to be able to do information operations to illuminate some of the irregularities and some of the malign type activities of the Chinese in African countries.
Did you hear what he said? Straight from the horse mouth. So it's not just about terrorism. It's about countering the other guys. Let me know how you feel about this. Let me just remind you here that, when Russia started the war, okay, when they responded to war, however you want to call it, when Russia started the military operation, I don't care where you are, Russia was accused at the United Nations, and many people, including the US, wanted to vote against Russia. And how many African countries voted against Russia? Not many. Many of the people, the representative, got out of the room because they did not want to vote for Russia. And that's when America realized that it was losing its influence, its positive influence in Africa. Is this part of the broad spectrum of trying to regain Africans' good hearts and sympathy by organizing all these trainings and meetings and stuff like that? Let me know how you feel about this. It's always a great pleasure. But what was clear here that Kenyans were not happy about the presence of Langley in Kenya. And also, before we leave, Tony Blair is in Kenya right now. He went to meet the president, William Ruto. Tony Blair is one of the guys that they didn't want Gaddafi to be alive, no doubt about that. Tony Blair is one of the guys that went to Iraq and Afghanistan and created mayhem. Tony Blair is one of the guys that fought consistently with Robert Mugabe over lands and riches and stuff. Let me know how you feel about this. It was a great pleasure. God bless. Oh, before you go, make sure you do this. Is it done? I appreciate it.